Welcome to another edition of Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. And here's your host, Russ McClellan.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it might be when you're hearing this. You know, one of the things we do is we have this radio show, but then we also put this radio show out into the land of social media. So you might find us on YouTube at Russ McClellan. Russ's Radical Realty is one channel I think. And Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. So I appreciate everybody tuning in and listening one more time. We're like at 105, 6, 7 shows. 4 years later, here we are. I've even got my producer with me, JP, who's now a real estate broker. How you doing, JP?
I'm good, Russ.
Yeah, we've been having fun. I joke around. It took me 4 years to recruit him. It's not very good. If that was my stat on everybody, we'd be in trouble. But I also have friends, Armando, Bendito, and Lupita. Bendito. Hi, guys.
Hi.
How you doing, Russ?
I'm doing good. I'm excited that you're here because I want to introduce you guys. I want you guys to tell your story about where you're from, who are you, why real estate, why Keller Williams, and just kind of get your thoughts. Because one of the things we try to do is inspire other people. And after 2 years of a pandemic, there's a lot of people out there a little confused, a little scared, a little stuck. We want to get them unstuck. In fact, our mission at this company, and you guys probably have heard me say it over and over again, is to change lives to the life people want and the life they deserve, using real estate as the vehicle to do that. And we do that as a firm, right? So good morning and thanks again. Mondo, we'll start with you.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me. Yeah, so my field, I went to college to be an accountant actually first, and that's where my background comes from. I grew up here in the Valley, went to Eastern Washington, where the football field's red, Cooper Cup, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And I graduated, started here in Wenatchee working for the Department of Revenue, being an auditor. And I quickly realized this is not for me. Just didn't like that environment. So switched over to tax accounting, public accounting, and there's a lot of ag around here, but I slowly got exposed to more and more like real estate tax returns, realtors, developers, everybody in the industry, and I would do their tax returns and quickly realized like, oh, here's where the money's at. Here's where it's like you can be. Like you said, it's a vehicle that you can use to become successful and achieve anything you really want to achieve. So I've been doing that for 6 years now, and it actually took me longer than I wish it did. But Lupita was talking about, hey, I think I'm going to become an agent, and she was the one kind of running around looking for an office, and she connected well with Keller Williams. She kind of told me about it. I came and talked to you, came and talked to Luke. ECs, and yeah, I mean, we just hit it off.
Right. So she's the smart one.
Yeah, she's a smart one.
Thanks, Lupita, for being the smart one.
Yeah, and then I started probably 4 years now, bought my first property, and I didn't really know much about real estate, honestly. I just started what people call house hacking. I didn't even know it was called house hacking. You just, you get a bigger place, 4-bedroom, and you rent out all the other ones, live in one, and you're like, hey, this is pretty cool. Get your mortgage paid, help you out, and did that for 2 years. Then purchased a second one, did that again, and I was like, well, you know what? What if I could be doing this for myself and other people? So yeah, so now I started here in December. Was really involved for a month. I'm also a tax accountant part-time still, so I'm kind of doing that. But once we wind up here in about a week, we're really going to hit it hard and hopefully do this a little more full-time.
Real estate's not a one-size-fits-all program, right? And it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, there's a lot of people that I think see certain people that are doing really well, and they're like, wow, that's easy to do, and the reality is the barrier to entry is pretty low relative to any other profession. I mean, to get an accounting degree is 4 years, right? To get a real estate license is 90 hours and a test. And the 90 hours is now free because we sponsor and have partnered with the largest real estate school in the nation. So now we have that ability, and we're also a profit sharing company. So we're sharing and motivating people to help other people. That's kind of the basics. But your story is a good one, and the fact that I think the average person, changes jobs 6 or 7 times in their lifetime. I mean, in the 50s and 60s, old school, it was like go to work at a factory. You're at that factory for 30 years. You get a watch when you're done and a small little retirement. And thank you for your investment. The world's a small place now with the internet. And, there's so many things people can do that it is exciting. But it's not like there's a free lunch, right? Like you do have to work, right? But you're a great example in the fact that you decided to take a chance and realize that, hey, real estate might be fun. If nothing else, it's educational. So I tell everybody, if school is free, if you have a little ambition, even if you don't have plans on being a real estate broker, might as well get the education, because everybody's either renting or buying, right?
Oh, yeah.
Almost everybody. So it's good education, and it's good to be inspired by people, and it's cool that you guys are brother and sister. Lupita, I'd love to hear how since you were kind of the catalyst into Keller Williams, tell me how that all went down for you.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Wenatchee, and I graduated in 2020 with COVID had just hit, and I was at home and everything. And I mean, it's actually started before, when my brother was trying to buy his first house. I mean, we just kept on getting, we would make offers, and he just kept on getting beat. And, we would actually find the houses and tell our agent, oh, can we go see this house? And it was just kind of not a good experience with that. Right. But, so, and I mean, I really like helping people, and I just I know we talked about it, and they're like, oh, you don't want to, this isn't a good motivation, but I did watch a little bit of HGTV, and I did a little bit more research with real estate, and I talked to a few other real estate companies about how to actually get the process started. And then I talked to Keller Williams, and I talked to EC's, and she was just super nice, and I really liked her. And then we also talked about profit sharing, and my brother was also getting his license. So I'm like, well, I just beat him to it,
So you sponsored him. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Easie's Buy-In is our team leader, and she's incredible. She's been breaking records every month, and her job is to grow our company and make sure that the people that we hire to help her run the company, like my sister is also in the business, a partner with me, Kelly, and oldest sister. So she's been, I've been bugging her a long time. And she now is our market center administrator. So we've got some really good people. Growing up in the Valley, you got into real estate. You said, Armando, real estate can be very lucrative. What are some of the surprises that you've run into so far? I mean, you guys came into this business, I mean, in the last 2 years, nobody really knows what it all means. There's not I say this all the time, but it's not like we can go to our mentors and go, hey, what'd you do in the last world pandemic? They're all dead, like 1918, right? So it's an interesting time. COVID locked everything down. You guys entered the equation, was about 6 months ago.
Probably 4 right now.
4 months
Yeah, it was
ago.
I think it was the week after Thanksgiving 2021.
Right. So is there some things that now that you would tell someone that was where you were at 5-6 months ago before you got in that is different than your perception?
Yeah. So, we both joined we're on the tail end of the pandemic and COVID, and there was a lot of uncertainty. People didn't really know what was going to happen, where were we going to have another wave, or were we going to have another lockdown? We still had the masks. We were one of the last few states to have the mask mandate. So we joined, and there was a lot. Yeah, nobody really knew what was going to go on, but one thing was for certain: agents were still selling. People were still buying homes. We were at. I knew that big picture, we still had all time low interest rates. So people, it was 30 years. If you look at the big picture, 30 years down the road, 3, 4, 5% interest rate is still a good deal. So I realized, even though we're locked down, people were buying homes. People were selling, and people needed somewhere to live. People were moving. There was a lot of opportunity, especially in this valley, knowing, some of my friends from Seattle, they're like, you know what? We're paying for this really expensive apartment in Seattle, but we're locked in here. Why don't we just go buy something, east of the Cascades and move to Wenatchee? I'm like, oh.
Bada bing.
If you're having this idea, how many other people are having it? And unfortunately, a lot of businesses weren't able to, the pandemic hit them harder than others. But if you were driven, I guess what I was trying to say is that even though it looked like an uncertain time, there's always opportunity here in real estate. When the market's up, some people are buying, some people are selling. When the interest rates are low, everybody wants to buy, refinance. So
yeah, you're exactly right. I joke around. I've only been doing this since 1989, when I was 19. I was a Central guy, Wildcat, not an Eagle, back in the glory days. But I always joke around and say there's a balanced market for about 10 minutes, about every 10 years, from a realtor's perspective. It's either a buyer's market or seller's market. It's never perfectly balanced for maybe 10 minutes. And then we're in another, and we sell real estate during all these times, but we do have to sometimes adjust our approach. So when we come right back, we'll talk about the approach of selling real estate and whatever else comes up. I'm really intrigued and excited for people to get to know you as I have. So we'll be right back with Russ, McClellan and Friends in just a few minutes.
Keller Williams, you make dreams come true. Oh, sweet home. Oh, sweet home.
Hey, this is Russ McClellan with Keller Williams. I want to talk to you about something. Do you feel stuck? Do you feel the financial pressures of the COVID virus? That was fun, wasn't it? I'll tell you what, real estate can be a game changer for you, and I'm here to help you. If you want to give me a call at 509-888-0038, I want to talk about your life and getting unstuck. We are growing rapidly. We're the fastest growing real estate company in all of North Central Washington. Give us a call. I want to help you. 509-888-0038.
With the new Keller Williams School of Real Estate, you can now get your license for free. Access tools, tips, and personalized coaching with Keller Williams' award-winning training programs, and start off your career in real estate the right way. K-Score is 100% online and entirely free to students, with pre-licensing curriculum geared toward placing aspiring agents on a direct path to licensure and profitability. With K-Score, we're not just unlocking the door, we're opening every door to anyone that's ever dreamed of starting their career in real estate. We're making a difference for you so that you can make a difference for others. Now available for all individuals in Washington. Your future awaits. Enroll today.
We're excited. We got a lot of people signing up, so give us a call, 509-888-0038, or simply email us at joinus@kwncw.com. Let's go from being stuck to unstuck.
You're tuned to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. Now back to Russ.
Hey, I got Armando and Lupita, brother and sister, in our real estate company. I'm trying to kind of just have conversations. Lupita, you said you're 19 years old.
Yeah, I am. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and college seemed pretty expensive to just not know what I wanted to do.
Sure.
So it was cheaper to get a real estate license.
Way cheaper.
As soon as I talked to EC, she talked about how November 1st they were going to start a real estate class. And I was like, oh.
Free real estate school.
So I have a few friends in there, and they're...
I'm surprised. I didn't know you're 19. You seem more mature than most 19-year-olds.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you look professional, and so that's kudos to you. And I did the same thing. I was in Wenatchee Valley Community College in the late 80s, a long time ago, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do either. Back then, I think we only had to have 30 hours. Now it's 90. But yeah, so I started working right here for a company in 1989 while I was going to college playing basketball. So my first couple of years were a scholarship back when college wasn't that expensive. So it was kind of fun. And then I ended up going to Central, but I stayed with real estate. Last real job I had was in 1986. So I got a finance and econ degree, and from Central, and it's helped. And we were just talking about off-air finance. Finance is a hot topic in accounting. Interest rates. You were saying, Armando, that a lot of friends, the rates in the last year have gone up about 1.5% maybe, depending on the program. But what often is the case is that we compare what once was to what is, and we think that the world has ended. So there's a lot of buyers that think 4.5%, 4% is extremely high. Well, I want to share two things. Once upon a time, mortgages were at 23% in the 70s, 1970s, when Jimmy Carter was our president. When I got into the business in the late 80s, it was 10%. 30-year fix was 10%. There wasn't near the amount of programs there are. They're basic programs. But here's the thing to compare it to. What percent of interest are you paying when you rent? 100%. Because all you get is the use of someone else's mortgage. So you get the benefit of being able to have shelter for that month. So in other words, you're getting no equity, no appreciation. You're not paying down anything. That rent, in fact, is going to go up, not down in most markets that have a supply and demand problem like we do. We have way too many people looking and not enough homes. So if you think about, if you're a renter and you're out there thinking, well, I can't buy now because it's at 3%. It's not at 3% anymore. Well, that ain't going backwards. And you as an accountant know what the United States Treasury is all about. And that maybe you could tell people, Armando, as far as where banks get their money. Are you versed in that? As far as Federal Reserve loaning money to banks at 0%?
You're right. The Federal Reserve gets it. They get it from the Federal Reserve. But right now, in the last 2 years, we've just been printing money, just printing all this imaginary money. So it's been able to get what they wanted to do is just stimulate the economy, not have people panic. So then which made it so that the Fed rate went to basically zero, and then they have to charge a few index points above that for mortgages. So I guess the reason why we're on this topic, but I had a lot. I guess people my age who maybe didn't start like Lupita right out of high school. They went to college for 4 years. They're 21 to 23 years old. They graduated. They weren't really paying attention to interest rates and anything like that before that. So they come in, and interest rates are at 4-3%. And now they're seeing them creep up to 5%. Some people are seeing even a little more than that because they don't have the best credit, or they got a little bit of debt. And so now they're starting to, at least people. I'm 28. People my age, they're kind of like, hey, well, is there a crash coming? Interest rates are it's too high, and I'm like, hey, in the grand scheme of things, really, this still a really good deal.
Right.
The rates are supposed to rise. The Fed said 11 times this year, I believe. So how many more times is that during this year? And like you said, they're not coming back down. They're just going to stabilize, and it's going to be the new normal.
Yeah, here's the perfect storm. Unfortunately, we have an affordable housing crisis. I get that. There's a lot of people that work in certain jobs that are already priced out of this market. And there's some reasons for that. And it's not just here. It's around the whole country. We're way behind in houses, millions of homes behind in the aggregate. But we also have unlocked a primary resident buyer from Seattle. That Puget Sound buyer that was told a couple years ago that for the first time in history, they can actually make money working from home, and they don't have to live in Puget Sound anymore. So for a lot of people of all ages, really, they're thinking to themselves, wait a minute, up until 2 years ago, I had to fight traffic on I-5 one way, an hour and a half, bumper to bumper, to get to work. I had to live in the rain, the gray. I had to see the homeless. I had to see this. I had to see that. I had to see all these things that I don't like. I think I'm going to move to that east side of the state now, where the market's based on a different economic financial base. So in other words, real estate is less money here than it is in Puget Sound, where there's about I don't know, 4.6 million people that live. So I joke around and I tell people, what percentage of 4.6 million people would kind of disrupt our world? And let me let you know a little secret. We do like 3,000 deals a year with all realtors combined historically. So do the math. I mean, all of a sudden, if you've got this demand that comes from a place where they can sell their 2-bedroom condo they bought 3 years ago, bring over $400,000 in cash as a down payment, and they're making money at Amazon online. And here's the thing, it's not just Amazon or Microsoft. Like, it used to be just like technology, and we used to use the words telecommuting. Like, if you were one of those programmer guys, you were smart with computers. This is going back in time, dating myself, but you could do that telecommute thing. That's not even a word anymore. Now it's just the web. Like, people work on the web, and there's all different industries. So it's not those specialized. It's attorneys and doctors and yoga instructors and, you name it. There are people working online in those fields. And maybe they have to go back to Puget Sound once or twice a month or once or twice a week. But now they're buying a primary over here and they have maybe an apartment over there. So it's kind of inverted where for a long time, our market, especially in Leavenworth and Lake Chelan, were just second homes, investors, or retirees. That's it. Most of our locals were already facing that drive till you qualify program, getting out of the hub. So yeah, it's an interesting time. And it's also a very good time. It's like, in my opinion, guys, it's never been a better time to get into real estate than right now. If you have work ethic, if you're entitled, and no offense to people that feel entitled and are soft mentally, but there's a lot of people like that. And I struggle with that. I grew up with a dad that worked, 20 out of 24 hours practically. He was a hired man in an orchard for 16 years. And 10 years, for the first 10 years, that's all he did. It was a hired man working 14-hour days for a farmer as a hired man in the orchard in Manson, where I grew up. And then the last 6, he worked 14-hour days for, which was my uncle that owned the orchard, while he worked his orchard with a flashlight at night for 6 years to buy 10 acres and raise 3 kids back when that was a pretty viable thing to do. So the work ethic that I come from is, I don't have, excuses don't cut it where I grew up. I had a pretty cake gig, though. It was a very beautiful childhood growing up. What I like is that when people get into the real estate business and they treat it like a profession, not like a hobby, unless being a hobby is what you want, that's fine too. It's just if you have a goal. We heard this the other day because you guys were on that class, right? If you have a goal without a system, it's called the dream.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
So one of the things I'd like to know is, how do you feel like it? There's a saying that real estate is one of the easiest business to get into because of the barrier to entry, now free school, and maybe one of the hardest business to be successful at. What are there any things that you would say to somebody thinking about getting a real estate license right now?
Well, I think that one of the selling points is that you get to build your own schedule, or that's what you assume, and then you actually get there and it's you should really always be working. You go to the gym and you hear someone oh, hey, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to, or stuff like that. So it's you should always be working, and it's kind of a shock because it's or at least it was for me, because I just thought that it's oh, well, it's I get to build my own schedule. If I don't want to work today, I don't get to work. But it's if I don't work today, I don't get paid. So it's just that shock.
Yeah, what you do today, you don't necessarily see today. You might see it in 90 days, because it takes 60 to 90 days, 30 to 60 days to close a house deal. So if you sold a house today, you don't get paid today. Yeah. We have to get it appraised. We have to get the loan. We have to go to the inspections. All these things have to happen. So it is a challenge for people that are used to getting paid for time. And then when you go to 100% commission and you don't work,
You don't get paid.
you don't get paid and you don't see it for 90 days. And so sometimes I tell people, here's the problem. These are some people that I've had to have conversations with. You're losing so slowly, you think you're winning. If you don't wake up hungry and scared as an entrepreneur, and I don't care if you own a lemonade stand or if you're a huge Fortune 500 company, but if you're the entrepreneur, if it's your business, and real estate brokers are self-employed people. If you don't wake up hungry and scared and have tenacity, it may not work out for you. we get back, we can talk about what free schedules do mean, and there is some flexibility there, so you can't go to your kid's game at 2 o'clock. That's good news. So we'll be right back with Armando and Lupita in just a few minutes with Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and friends.
Keller Williams, you make dreams come true. Home sweet home, home sweet home, your home sweet.
If you want to change your life once and for all, well, I'm here to tell you that you can. This is JP, former radio host in Wenatchee Valley, now a licensed real estate broker at Keller Williams North Central Washington, and the first local graduate of the free Keller Williams School of Real Estate. After many years in the radio industry, I desired a lucrative, independent lifestyle, not just another dead end. And you can too. The free Keller Williams School of Real Estate teaches online 24 hours per day, which means you can learn on your free time and at your own pace. You'll earn 90 clock hours, which is mandatory in Washington State, and you will graduate ready to pass the Washington State Broker's License Test the first time, like I did. You can do this. Call ECs today for more information at 888-0038, 888-0038. Tell her JP sent you.
Hi, this is Russ McClellan, designated broker and operating partner of Keller Williams Realty NCW. You know, we have almost 70 agents and growing rapidly. We're almost a legit company now with over 2.5 years experience. The good news is this: if you're thinking about changing your life, my goal and my mission to you is to help you transform the life that you deserve and that you want, using real estate as the vehicle to do that. What does that mean? Well, it means whatever you want it to mean. If you want to work part-time, I'll show you how to do it. If you want to work full-time, I'll show you how to do it. And I'm also willing to show and demonstrate our commitment to you and our conviction to our company and transparency by giving you any of the numbers of any of the 70 people that work at Keller Williams. We're a family, we care about each other, and we care about you. So if you want to change your life, you want to get into real estate and have some fun, let's get together and talk. 509-888-0038. Give me a call anytime. You can also call my cell phone at 509-470-2416.
You're listening to Keller Williams Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and friends. Now back to the show.
We just had a good conversation off air.
Yeah.
We were just laughing because when you grow quick, you guys are getting to know me just like I'm getting to know you. And I was telling you that I crashed and burned in 2008, that great recession, and learned a lot of lessons. And one of the things I'm trying to do now as we move forward into maybe another shift, first of all, the shift doesn't mean Great Recession. Shift doesn't mean Great Depression. Shift, frankly, we don't know what it means. We just mean, we know that things are changing, and that's not all bad. Like you, Lupita, at 19, I think there's never been a better time to be in real estate right now. Because when times get a little bit challenging, like if we just look at interest rates, they go up a little bit, there's going to be people that resign. The people that aren't willing to work harder or willing to work smarter, maybe even a better way to look at it. And when we had the last segment, we talked about flexibility in your time. And you think, you know, when you go into it, sometimes your expectations are, yeah, I can show up, drink some coffee, you know, look on Facebook, make $100,000 a year. But unfortunately, like my econ professor, Jim Cannon, back in 1988 at Wenatchee Valley College, told me there's no such thing as free lunch. There's no free lunch. Nothing is free. You have to work, right? So now when people maybe have bad habits because things were good, maybe they don't make it. And there's opportunity because in every shift when there's challenges, there's opportunities.
Yeah.
Oh, like you said before with like the E to P, like the ego, it's like you just get used to it. And when we're shifting, it's you just have to either adapt and grow or just get left behind.
Yeah, you know, the biggest challenge I see, guys, is mindset. Mindset is an interesting thing. And I think generally speaking, you've heard the term helicopter parenting, you know, where we kind of did it to our kids, you know, my generation and the one right below me, where we protected them. Life was good. They didn't have to face a lot of adversity, right? We go back to making a joke about you didn't have to do book reports. You didn't have to read a book, right? Just look it up. Everything's been getting pretty easy with technology. And And I think we're in a weird place. Like you said, Armando, we printed a lot of money. I heard a stat the other day that 40% of the money in circulation has been printed in the last 2 years.
Yep, and it's fake. It's fake money. You can go get you go buy even with the house. You go buy a $300,000 home. You don't actually have that money. You're just buying debt, and then you give it to someone, right? You purchase it. It creates this inflation that we haven't seen before. So, but you're right on the mindset because life is hard. Renting is hard. You're going to have raised rents. You're going to have, security deposits that you think you're going to get back, cleaning fees. But owning a house is hard. There's more responsibility. There's payments that are due, tax payments, property taxes that are due, repairs. So if you just get both are hard, and which hard life do you want to do? Do you want to have the hard life where you own your own house and eventually, you start with the starter home and get to your, $1 million home that you want? Or do you want to rent for the rest of your life and it's going to be equally as hard?
Yeah. I mean, things are challenging, but there's opportunity every time there's things that are challenging. The idea that we can just show up and get paid and not have to work. I mean, that's kind of insulting to the people that are working, right? Like out there. And in real estate, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes your family has $1 million house, you list it, you get paid. Hey, my uncle moved to town, he's rich. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you don't have that golden parachute or that insulation. Sometimes you got to just roll your sleeves up and do the right things in the right order. And that's why we train so much. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm on a mission to bring more and more education from outside of our area. For whatever reason, familiarity breeds contempt in human beings. And I joke around because I grew up in Manson. I go, it's hard to be a hero in your hometown, right? Like there's always judgment. People know you too well. They know your mistakes. They know whatever you've done, right? So I call it the 50-mile rule. If I speak in Seattle, I'm automatically smarter. If I bring somebody like we did a couple of days ago from Spokane, they're one of the largest teams in Spokane at Keller Williams, they're automatically smarter. And they've proven it. They did $117 million last year with 17 people. So there's something to be learned. Success leaves clues, right? And I'm excited because I think at our firm, we've got a great culture. We've got a lot of great agents, almost 80 agents, I think, now. And I believe in abundance. So I believe that pie is infinite, right? And I believe there's always more market share. And we can also, in this business, create our own market share. And there's so many ways to make money in real estate, right? And that's a cool thing. You can decide what it is that you want. Nothing's going to be mandated to you. But you guys are signed up for Bold. Why did you do that?
Well, I really liked it because when I went to the first session, people, when I went to other trainings, they're like, okay, yeah, implement this in your life later. And then here it's like, okay, I need you to text those people right now, do it right now. And it's like, oh okay. It's just more action based than just here you go, here's the material, read it over, and then see if you want to implement it or not. And so it's
Yeah. Everybody wants to be the millionaire real estate agent, right? Everybody wants to, or even you have smaller goals. How much money do you want to make? And for some reason, a lot of people say, I want to make 100. So I want to make 6 figures. I don't know, it's that magical number. Well, I signed up for Bold because that first class, they had accountability. They had action. Text. You want those leads? Text them right now. Call them right now. Set up the appointment right now. Because it's not going to come through that door if you just sit at home. Especially for new agents like us. You're like, well, I want to get started, but I don't know a lot of people. Maybe are not from Wenatchee. Well, start with the people you do know, your small sphere. And there is opportunity, but you do have to put in the time. You do have to invest in yourself. And especially for young people like Lupita, newer agents, it's a good investment in yourself because you need to spend the money, get knowledgeable so that you know what you're talking about. You know where to generate leads. And if we have Bold. There's a lot of programs here at Keller Williams that actually help you. You have your team leader, your coach. You have Bold, family reunion. There's a lot of opportunities that if you invest in yourself, you will get. You will start seeing the rewards.
Yeah, doing the right things in the right order. One of the things I learned from the class the other day, and by the way, it doesn't matter young, old, new, not new. Everything's always changing, so we should always have a mindset that we're new. We should, even though I've been doing this for 30 years, I have to look at it like I'm a brand new rookie too, because I better be learning based. That's one of the 6 personal perspectives. I don't know if you guys have had that class yet, but one of those things is there's only 2 ways of being, right? Learning based or ignorant based. Which one you want to be? Because if you think you are all that in a bag of chips and you can't learn anything, anybody that acts like that, run away from them. Because they're going to hit a wall. They're going to hit a brick wall. And whether we know we do it or not, you just got to be hungry for knowledge and hungry for, even if you're doing something at a pretty high level, I can guarantee you there's somebody that's doing it more efficiently than you. And maybe it's just getting your time back. Like, hey, how do we do X deals? If I want to do 2 deals a month, how do I do 2 deals a month and not work X hours? I want to do half that. Or if my goal is to do 10 deals a month, how do I do that through leverage and systems? And that's the funny thing about what we call the ceiling of achievement. We all have one. We all have one at all given points in our life. And that's where we're beating our head against a certain level, whether it's 2 deals a month or 1 deal a month or 10 deals a month or whatever. We're working too many hours, whatever the ceiling is that we're beating our head against the wall. What has to happen is an open mind to determine at that moment in time where we want to break through that imaginary line. You probably have to add a system, or you have to add leverage, or both. But doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity, right? It's pretty funny. And yet none of us can predict the future. That's the hard part. If we could, we'd just go buy those penny stocks and be rich, right? We don't have to work. Yogi Berra, a famous Yankee baseball coach, said, a famous quote, one of my favorites, he said, predicting things is very, very difficult, especially about the future. And he's one of those guys that said you'd be a lot better if you weren't so crappy. Same kind of quote, right? He's a funny guy. But in real estate, it's so true. When you show up for work, I liked this. I got this as the 2 things I got out of it. Break your calendar down to 15-minute increments. All right, here's a piece of advice. Here's a tip, no matter what you're doing for a living. Because we all think we're busy. But busy isn't productive. Busy is just busy. So, watching TV doesn't count, right? Scrolling Facebook doesn't count. We all are inefficient, and we can become more efficient. I know this because of the rule of 168. You guys know what that is? It's 24 hours times 7 days a week. Every human being on planet Earth has the rule of 168. We all have the same amount of hours. So why is it that some guys make $1 million a year and some guys don't? Well, when they told me, because I'm horrible with my calendar, there's 2 rules I'm going to try to get out of Bold. Start using my calendar at a higher level, so I can be more strategic than reactionary. So every 15 minutes, keep track of what you do for a week. Be disciplined about writing it down. And then look back with honesty and say, if someone looked at my calendar for the last week, would they know exactly what my goals are and what I do for a living? And if they do, great. But if they looked at my calendar, they would have no clue what I do for a living, because I am not very good at it. Anyway, we all have room for improvement. I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm blessed to be in business with both of you. Lupita, way to be inspirational to your brother. Way to come out swinging. I know you guys are both going to do great. I applaud your courage to transition from a career, even though accounting's going to be with you forever, and I'm sure you're going to be doing it forever.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Russ.
All right, well, we'll be right back with Michael Maher and PrimeLending for the last segment of Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and friends.
Keller Williams, you make dreams come true.
Hey, this is Russ McClellan with Keller Williams. Normally I talk about real estate on these real estate shows, but today I want to talk about something a little bit more serious and also a little bit of fun. I want to talk about corralling teddy bears. That's right, teddy bears. We're pretty good real estate brokers, but we're also pretty good at corralling teddy bears, and here's why. Our first responders need help. They need help helping children. So what I'd like you to do is talk to anybody in Keller Williams or go to any one of our offices and drop off a brand new teddy bear. We have bins at all of our Keller Williams offices, Leavenworth, 2 in Wenatchee, 1 in Chelan, 1 in Brewster, PrimeLending, their office in the Confluence Tech Center area, or KOZI or Z Country, and drop those teddy bears off so those first responders can give those teddy bears in times of need and crisis to children. Think about the kids. I really appreciate your help. Thank you very much. Let's go get some teddy bears. Hi, this is Russ McClellan with Keller Williams Realty, North Central Washington. Hey, I have an exciting opportunity that I want to share. Keller Williams is partnered with the largest real estate school in the country, and we are now offering free real estate training. That includes not just the 90 hours that you need for pre-licensing requirements by the state of Washington, but real-life practical experience as well. Give us a call at 509-888-0038 or email us at joinus@kwnCW.com.
You're enjoying The Real Estate Show, Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and friends. Here's more with Russ.
I got Michael Maher per normal. How you doing, Michael?
Good, Russ. Happy to be here and happy to spread some knowledge.
You bet. For the 2 or 3 people that don't know Michael, he's with PrimeLending. He's a co-host of this show and one of our expert advisor allies that we use often at Keller Williams, one of our preferred lenders. And, you know, Michael, it's the hot topic. Oh, boy, we're shifting. And if we don't really know what shifting means, and that's the beautiful thing about a shift in the economy, nobody can predict the future. If we could, we wouldn't have to work. We just go to the casino and play roulette. But since we can't predict the future, rates are a hot topic. Interest rates have gone, what was it, a year ago we were at 3 something, and now we're at 5.
Yep.
Now, for people that haven't been around, that sometimes feels like the end of their opportunity to buy houses.
Right.
But for people that have been around, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% interest is still good.
Yes, definitely.
So one thing I want to talk about before I let you dive in on, you know, the economy and various options, buying down points and all kinds of stuff we can do to get people into homes on the structure side and the banking side or mortgage side, is how much interest is a tenant paying, Michael?
That would be a 100%.
Yes, that is a 100% interest payment. And that means you get the use or the benefit of the shelter for that 30-day period of time. But nothing else comes with it, including security, because guess what happens in a supply and demand problem area like we have, where we have more people than we have homes for, is those crazy landlords raise rents. So not only do you not get the deduction on your taxes, that interest is 100% deductible as a primary resident. Talk to your accountant. You also do not get appreciation, and you do not get security. Not that renting is always bad, but when someone's looking at where we're at today, so let's talk about the mindset of the some of the challenges that we both have with mindset around the last year and a half.
Yeah, definitely. So really what it comes down to, and what I'm having a ton of conversations lately, is people that were pre-approved when interest rates were in the 3, and we didn't even really get to see 4s. It pretty much went straight up to an average of 5%. And what we're seeing in these discussions we're having are people are just going, you know what, the payment's too high, and their expectations on payments may not be as realistic with where values are currently at. So what we're trying to talk to people about is, like you said, rent, you're paying 100% interest no matter what. And if we can get you close to the payment that you're comfortable with, or even if you're squeezing your budget a little bit, if you're in a line of work where you're expecting regular raises, the beautiful thing about a mortgage is that it's a fixed interest rate. The payment will not change aside from taxes and insurance, but otherwise it doesn't change. You don't have a landlord boosting that up and raising it every year. It will remain fixed, and you can budget around that. But what I do know is that interest rates are going to continue to go up. So while now you get locked in, let's say at 4.875, or, you know, just for example, and then next month we're at, let's say, 5.25, because, you know, we've been looking at the beginning of the year in January, we were hovering around 3 and 1/8 roughly, and we're sitting at an average of 5. So that's how quickly they went up. So with all that being said, just being able to lock that in. And if you're looking to buy a house, try and buy now, and just know that in a month or 2 months, you're most likely going to be ahead of the game.
Yeah, and you see people also get used to certain things, right? Certain entitlements. In the last couple of years, we had the PPP loan, we've had the stimulus packages, and lifestyles, for lack of a better word, became more comfortable. I would ask someone, we've talked about this, where maybe somebody's off $150 a month from their goal and they decide not to buy because of that. And they kind of have tunnel vision, like racehorses put those little blinders on. And they're like, if I don't get this, I am not doing it. I'm going to go back to paying 100% interest on rent. I challenge them to ask, where can they sacrifice in lieu of getting a home? There's this thing called Folgers coffee. Remember that? Folgers crystals. And a thing called a coffee pot. I'm making a joke, being a smart aleck, but I don't see the line at Starbucks going down because interest rates went up.
Nope, not at all.
But I bet you at $5 to $6 a cup every day. Let's do the math on that. Usually have somebody with you, sometimes $10 times 30. That's $300 a month in Starbucks.
Yeah.
I challenge people to just look at the littlest things they spend money on over the last year. Break it down into a month. Then add that back into the ability to borrow and be disciplined about that. And, the reality is owning a home is not an entitlement. It's not a right. A lot of people think it should be. A lot of people think that, everybody should have the right to own a home. But you know what? It takes discipline. It takes work ethic. We learned some valuable lessons for those who have been alive back in the Great Recession where, the banks were lending and mortgage companies were lending money to people that didn't have jobs, frankly, and want $1 million, sure. Well, I agree with you 100%. I think we could see 6 or 7% interest rate pretty fast.
Yeah, and on that creative part, what a lot of people don't realize is that do you get a tax return at the end of the year? And I know a lot of people do, especially people with kids. And I've seen upwards of, on average, $5,000 to $10,000 where people are getting that back. What if you were able to adjust your W-4 withholdings and how many, and you want to, consult a CPA, of course, but this is a discussion we've had as well, is what if you were to adjust how much taxes are taken out? So maybe you don't get as big of a return, but your monthly income has gone up because now you're using that money throughout the year, which ultimately can help you afford a little bit more in a mortgage payment. Is there some debt that we could consolidate or pay off to help boost that up if you have a big bucket of money or some money that is extra in addition to down payment? So it's about having all these discussions on looking at what's going on in the market right now. Prices don't seem to be going down, and they only continue to go up, it seems like, at this point. Interest rates are going up, taxes are going up. So what technically next month is probably going to bring, it's going to be a little bit higher. So by having these creative conversations with helping people budget, it can really open their eyes to figuring out what they truly can afford, and then, helping them get locked in while things are still low.
Yeah, when you say yes to something, one of the interesting conversations I had with a coach one time is when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. It's called opportunity cost in economics.
Yeah.
So what is the cost of making that decision to buy that new car versus maybe buying a used car? What is the cost of going to Starbucks versus having those Folgers crystals? These are decisions that you have to make when you want to be a homeowner, especially if you're a first-time homeowner and your debt-to-income ratios are on the edge of being too high. Well, we have to get that down somehow for you. We have to get you into a position where not only you're comfortable with it, but you can actually qualify. And discipline is part of the equation. There's other ways too. There's other methods. We can buy down the interest rates, and sometimes that will help your debt-to-income ratio and get your payment down. Michael, you're versed in that. And there's a plethora of ways that we can structure deals to where, like in one of the shows we were talking about, we talk about it all the time, even my son, where we can look at buying the ugly duckling in the neighborhood and maybe getting a little bit more equity in a home by buying something that not everybody wants to buy, like a 1 or 2 bedroom, and adding a 1 or 2 bedroom to make it a 3 or 4 bedroom versus going out and buying a 3 or 4 bedroom home that is retail, because that's where everybody's looking. That's where 90% of the people are. So let's go find that 2 bedroom home, a little one off the best neighborhood, but has a nice sized lot. And then let's let Michael Maher work his magic like you did with my son on a rehab loan. So we can put some of these, ugly duckling components that nobody likes, whether it be a kitchen or a deck or an added a bedroom or a new roof, whatever the reason that the majority of people don't want to buy a home, but it's in a good lot. Well, Michael, you have the answer for that, don't you?
Exactly. Yep. It's a great option. And we have a lot of people right now taking advantage of it because especially in Wenatchee, there's some older homes that need some work, and it can be an amazing opportunity and strategy to help people get into something that just needs a little bit of work and instant equity. And no one could ask for anything better than that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of myths around buying homes too. We battle it every week. People think you need 20% down. People think you have to have your job for 2 years. People think that your credit has to be, 750 or above, your credit score. I mean, there's all these myths. So what I would recommend, in the last minute here of our segment, Michael, is I would recommend people call you. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can call or text me at 425-760-8824, and we can have that conversation about where they're at specifically in their situation and get them on a path to, even if they're not ready, get them on a path and a plan to hopefully get there someday. And we always, we don't judge or whatever the situation or you have going on in your life. We just are there to help.
Yeah, we're counselors as much as we're anything, and it's always confidential.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, thanks a lot, Michael. Have a great day. I appreciate it as always, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Hey, for everybody else out there, enjoy the day. Spend some time with your friends and family. The world's always changing. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. I enjoy the conversations each and every week. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.
It's a bright new day. Just came